Picture this: you're standing in a group of 40 people, somewhere on the African savannah, 60,000 years ago, no cops, no courts, no government, just 40 people and whatever food you can find today. Then a lion shows up, everyone freezes, everyone looks at everyone else, and in that split second of pure chaos, somebody yells "this way now," and everyone just follows. Nobody voted, nobody held a meeting. A stranger's voice cut through the panic, and 40 separate brains turned into one moving herd. Why? Why does a group of independent, stubborn, opinionated humans suddenly hand over control to a single voice the second things get scary? Turns out, that instinct isn't some weird glitch, it's one of the oldest survival tools your brain ever built, and once you understand why it exists, you'll start seeing it everywhere, in your job, in your group chat, in literally every crowd you've ever been part of. Let's start with the obvious question nobody asks. Humans are smart, independent, capable of thinking for ourselves, so why would we ever want to just follow someone blindly? The answer comes down to speed. In 2009, researchers at the University of Leeds ran an experiment with groups of people walking around a large hall. Most of the group had no instructions at all, but a small handful, sometimes as few as 5%, were secretly told exactly where to walk. No talking aloud, no pointing, no signals, just walking, and every single time, the uninformed majority followed the informed few, without ever realizing they were being led. Just 5 people out of 100 could steer an entire crowd. That's wild if you think about it. 95 people, completely clueless, still ended up walking in a specific direction, guided by 5 strangers who knew where they were going. Nobody announced anything, nobody explained the plan, the group just sensed direction and moved with it. So what's actually going on inside your head when this happens? Neuroscientists point to something called distributed cognition. Basically, groups don't think like one giant brain, they think like a swarm, constantly scanning each other for tiny signals: confidence, posture, speed, certainty. When someone in the group shows even a slight edge of certainty, especially during a crisis, the rest of the group's brains latch onto that signal like it's gold. It's faster to follow a confident voice than to sit there calculating the best move yourself. And for most of human history, slow decisions got you killed. Which brings us back to that lion on the savannah. Here's the brutal math of prehistoric life. If a predator shows up and your group spends even 10 seconds debating what to do, half of you are already dead. But if one person yells a direction and everyone instantly obeys, most of the group survives. Even if that person's call wasn't perfect, evolution doesn't reward the smartest possible decision, it rewards the fastest workable one. A tribe that could instantly rally behind a single voice in a crisis had a massive survival edge over a tribe that stood around arguing. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer groups, like the Hadza of Tanzania, have found something fascinating here. Leadership in these groups isn't fixed, it's situational. The best hunter leads during a hunt, the best storyteller leads around the fire, someone who knows the terrain leads during a migration. There's no permanent king, no throne, no crown. Just a rotating cast of people who step up exactly when their specific skill is needed, and everyone else falls in line without any fuss. This is sometimes called situational leadership, and researchers believe it was the default model for the vast majority of human history, way before kings, presidents, or CEOs ever existed. So if leadership used to be this flexible and shared, what happened? Why did we end up with permanent rulers, kings, empires, and dictators? Here's where things take a turn. Around 10,000 years ago, agriculture changed everything. Once humans started farming, something new entered the picture: surplus. For the first time, groups could store extra grain, extra food, extra wealth, and surplus needs protecting, it needs organizing, it needs someone deciding who gets what. Anthropologist and political scientist James Scott argued that early states didn't form because people wanted rulers, they formed because concentrated food supplies created concentrated power, and concentrated power attracted people willing to grab it and keep it. The flexible, rotating leadership of hunter-gatherers slowly hardened into permanent hierarchies, because once someone controlled the grain stores, they controlled everyone who needed to eat. But there's a psychological piece to this too, and it's honestly kind of unsettling. In the 1960s, psychologist Stanley Milgram ran one of the most famous, and most controversial, experiments in history. He told regular, everyday people to deliver what they believed were increasingly painful electric shocks to another person, simply because a man in a lab coat told them to continue. No weapon, no threat, just a calm authority figure saying, "Please continue." And the majority of participants obeyed, all the way to what they thought were dangerous, possibly lethal shocks. Milgram's conclusion was chilling. Most humans have a built-in switch that shifts them into what he called an agentic state, where they stop feeling personally responsible for their actions and instead see themselves as simply carrying out someone else's will.
The presence of a confident authority figure can override a person's own moral judgment almost instantly.
That's not a flaw unique to a few weak-willed people. Milgram's experiment has been repeated in different countries, different decades, different setups, and the results keep holding up. This obedience instinct appears to be baked into basically all of us. Now here's the twist that ties this whole thing together. That same switch that made ancient humans instantly follow a voice during a lion attack is the exact same switch Milgram accidentally triggered in a lab coat and a clipboard. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between this person is saving my life and this person seems confident and official. Both situations flip the same ancient circuit: follow now, ask questions later. And that's a double-edged sword. On one hand, this instinct built civilizations. It let large groups of strangers cooperate at a scale no other species on Earth has ever managed. Cities, armies, hospitals, entire economies, all of it runs on millions of people trusting a chain of leadership they've never personally verified. On the other hand, this exact same wiring is how ordinary people get swept into cults, mobs, and horrific historical atrocities. The instinct doesn't come with a built-in filter for good leaders versus bad ones. It just responds to confidence and certainty, whether or not that confidence is actually earned. So the next time you notice yourself following someone, in a meeting, in a crowd, online, ask yourself a simple question: are you following them because they've actually earned your trust? Or is some ancient part of your brain just reacting to their tone of voice, the same way your ancestors reacted to a stranger yelling this way during a lion attack 60,000 years ago? You're not weak for following. You're running one of the oldest survival programs your species ever built. It kept your ancestors alive long enough to have kids, who eventually became you. The question was never whether you'd follow someone, the question is whether you're paying attention to who. If this made you think differently about the people you follow, wait until next time, because we're breaking down how ancient tribes actually got rid of bad leaders, and it's way more brutal than voting them out. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and drop a comment. Would you have followed the voice in the chaos, or frozen?